One of the best ways that you can start healing your attachment style is through your platonic relationships. Your platonic friendships are a gold mine for cultivating some of the best, most secure relationships of your life. This is a gold mine so long as you've got some securely attached friends. Healthy, secure, platonic friendships offer you a blueprint to map out the rest of your relationships. Romantic, sexual, otherwise, intimate, etc. To restore them, to heal, to have the most amazing relationships that you can. Hear me out. So long as you hit the jackpot of meeting a friend who is securely attached, they can model for you what it is like to be securely attached. Because these folks know how to honor their boundaries and their needs. They know how to show up in relationships. They know how to respond more than react. They're more grounded. And it is such... This is a topic that is so dear to my heart, okay? Because I see it time and again that people will give up their platonic friendships to be with a person who is possessive, jealous, etc. over them having a platonic relationship with someone. Look, some platonic relationships may have a little bit of underlying sexual tension of some sort, but the majority of them probably do not. I can attest, I've had many of them. And now in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit of the reasons why this is such a gold mine for you, for the rest of your relationships. First things first, because the platonic relationship does not usually have this, like, these tendrils of sexual trauma bonds and all of this, or sexual attraction, even we'll put it in that way instead of going straight to trauma bonds, but I will address that a little bit. Because it doesn't have that distraction, you're able to focus on the friendship itself. And granted, in all relationships, we will hit little roadblocks of things where we had to express our boundaries and needs to the other person. And this is why when you express them to a securely attached person, they're receptive towards it. They're receptive and they will honor it usually. And this gives us a blueprint. This gives us something so that when we're in a relationship, or if it's a situationship and you haven't figured that out yet, you're like, wait, this feels off. You know, this is also what you got to be doing in the relationship to self. You've got to start honoring your own boundaries with yourself, okay? And recreating yourself so that when somebody doesn't show up to the plate the same way, you're like, I'm not having this. You're not attracted to it anymore. It can take a lot of time and practices of doing this till it becomes second nature, and you're like, yeah, no. And we're not doing this. You know, I'm not in this connection with them. The other thing is also, if you're insecurely attached, you may also have friendships that are toxic, and you may need to actually start having platonic friendships that are also secure. Okay, so everyone wants to jump onto their romantic or sexual relationships because, you know, that's like, let's face it, we want that like divine union with another person, let's say, right? Or people, if you're polyamorous, okay, you want a divine union, right? But you're never going to have this divine union that's really divine if you don't heal and become more secure. And the romantic relationship or sexual or intimate one, whatever we want to call it, because there's so many classifications of relationships, it really is not the end all of our lives, guys. I'm sorry to say. It is not the end all. And like Esther Perel says, she's, if you don't know her, she's like this very renowned relationship expert. She's like, this is the first time in all of history where we have tried to put everything onto one person, that our partner has to be our everything. And that wasn't the case in the old days, you know, and this is an interesting point in time, right? So anyway, Just keep that in mind, that it's not the end all. And our friendships are so important. I lost my sandal over there for a second. And one of the greatest pitfalls that happens with a lot of codependents, empaths, insecurely attached people is they get into this toxic relationship, and or we could call it dysfunctional too, right? There's many names for this. And they start isolating themselves from their friendships. They start doing that. They start trading out their time of like moving things around so they can still see this person. Maybe they don't show up to their friendship because they're getting so attached to this other person. Well, that is such a dishonor. Do not do that. Do not do that. The secret sauce really is to start cultivating friendships with secure people. People who display, maybe you even meet like people who they've been in a relationship, you can see that it's secure maybe. You may not know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't always advise that. It's taken me many years of to see like, okay, I can tell who's secure, who's not after doing this for a while. So I want to share a story of how this unfolded for me. I was in my 20s. I was working in Asia as a teacher, and I got to my second school, and it was the first day, starting with some other new teachers, and there was who would become my best friend. It was this guy named Jordan, and he seemed like the nicest guy I'd ever met. I thought when I met him, I was like, I think he's one of the nicest dudes I've ever met. And he was funny, and I was like, wow, we became really good friends. And he's one of these guys that he's so empathetic that for years and years and years, everyone goes, is he gay? And it's like, no, he's not gay. But anyway, I always said that he's the platonic love of my life. There was never any of this like a romantic thing or whatever involved. And it's always been friendship. But he's someone in my life who helped me heal, actually. He is securely attached and came from a good home. Also quite sensitive person. And he's a great listener. So this really repatterned things for me. I don't feel like I had the typical masculine, the wound of like I hate men or anything. I just had a lot of different wounds with different people. And I had wounds with the feminine, with other women actually, that I'm still healing till this day, the collective wounds. And about 1.5 years or so into our friendship, there was this little situationship that I was involved in with this guy who treated me like crap. And it's funny because it's like, I think back of these, like, this dynamic of like, oh no, I need to stop seeing this person. It's toxic for you, but you keep going back. I remember we met in some bar one night and it was a hookup, those are really good for you, by the way. Keep doing them. Yeah, it was a hookup and it evolved into a situationship, which is usually how a lot of them transpire. And he started to treat me like crap. Like, you know what? I'll give you an example. He invited me to a wedding as the guest. And of course, I was wearing heels. So we were looking for the place. And he's walking, 20 feet ahead of me as I'm hobbling around in heels to get to the place. That is one of the most disrespectful things that a man can do to a woman. And it's just, I think of it till today and I'm like, that was so humiliating, but I was so used to being treated like crap. I was so used to tolerating being treated like crap. And all because I had this little trauma bond with this guy. Okay. And so this kind of kept going on, these sort of things where he would, I don't want to go into it because I want to like keep it to the point, but there were other things in this connection that he showed me. He treated me like crap. And I kept backing away from it and getting hooked again. And one of the times where I was hooked, he invited me to a bowling party. And I didn't want to go alone, especially after I was a little bit ashamed that I was out of it. Like I had deactivated as a fearful avoidant. I had deactivated from all of the crap going on with him and taken care of myself. And now we're getting looped back into this a bit. And he invited me to a bowling party. And I invited my friend along because I didn't want to go alone. And so we got on the train, and he's like, yeah, so what's up with you two lately and what's going on? And I told him what was going on and what had happened. And honestly, I can't remember till this day exactly what I told my friend. I'm usually pretty like, we're very open together. Like I can tell this friend anything without shame or with shame, and be heard and be like held space for. This is what's so beautiful about this friendship. I told him what had been going on, and he looked at me with this face that he does sometimes when he's a little bit disgusted by something. This expression that he does where he's like, and he freezes it. And he goes, he did what? And I said it again, and he goes, we're not going to that party. No. And you shouldn't even see him anymore. No, we're not going to this party. And we're going to do our own thing tonight. He put his arm around me. He's like, we're going to go out. We're going to do our own thing. I think we went to Itaewon or something in Korea. And we're going to have the best night ever. And it was such a fun time, as usual, with my friend. And the guy he texted me like, are you coming? And I just was like, I decided not to text him back. I was like, I'm done. I'm done with this, actually. Yeah. And that was the last time I saw this guy voluntarily. I say voluntarily because I saw him again, I don't know how many months later, in the same bar that we had first met at. And he was like, oh, hey, what's going on with you? How are you? Paying me a lot of attention at that moment. And I said, yep, I'm good. I'm going to another place. Have a nice night kind of thing. I just did not platform him. I was done. I was still learning a lot in those days over different styles of trauma bonds and how this works. But so this is why I think it's such a great disservice to you if you're not fostering and cultivating the best platonic friendships of your life. Because like in the case where, so I'm queer, I don't only like men, right? But I do like men. And with this friend, it's helped me to have a new blueprint for what a good man is like. That, my friend showed me how to have more respect for myself. My friend validated that I was not in a good connection with this person. This person was not treating me well. And he's always shown me that he's not only receptive, as I said, he's like emotionally receptive, all of that. But we have worked on things in our friendship in terms of my boundaries and my needs, like expressing them. And this is also something I'm saying is that when you are in a friendship with someone who's securely attached, it gives you an opportunity to communicate your needs and boundaries with someone who will be receptive and honor them. And not just that, learn from them and show up again and know like, oh, wait, no, she doesn't like that. People can't read our minds. Cultivate these friendships. I also had, there were some times in our friendship where I expressed a boundary. Like my friend, sometimes he can be a little pushy. Like one time we were out at some place and the pool table was free and he's like, let's play pool. And I was like, I don't want to play pool. And he's like, come on. I was like, no, I don't feel like playing. He's like, come on. And I was like, I don't feel like playing. And he's like, okay. And I was like, sometimes you're a little bit pushy. He's like, well, all right. I just wanted to play pool, So it's like in the way a person reacts or responds to something really tells you a lot. Okay. There's also a time where that friend of mine, I was living outside of New York, and I was really had this vision that I was going to like host people a lot. And I used to host people in my studio. It was a bigger studio at times when I lived in Asia. And it was, you know, spaces are smaller there sometimes. And I was used to that, and I was in my 20s, and it was like, but as I was in my 30s living outside of the big city, I realized like, oh my God, this is too small to host people. And I need more personal space, and I don't like this. And it wasn't really about my friend. It was like, oh God, like this is a boundary that I just realized. Like I could do it maybe for 2 days, but not longer. And so I said it to my friend. We hit this other point that happened where things were brought up, and I was like, I said, you know, I don't think I can even host like in this small of a space anymore. And he was like, oh, I feel really sad about that. But he received it. Okay. You know, it tells you a lot with how people are receptive to it. And if your friend is secure, you can start practicing having your needs and boundaries honored with someone who is. That way, when you get into a relationship with someone else that is romantic or intimate, whatever you want to call it, partnership, or it's a situationship that I'm going to should you, that you shouldn't be in for your own well-being, you will notice when that person is not honoring your boundaries or your needs. You will notice it. And this is also work to do with yourself, to really be cultivating that relationship with yourself, to be, you know, not waiting for someone else to take you on a date. You take yourself out, you dress up, you know, I'm going to come out with the whole series on this soon. But once you start treating yourself to the finer things in life, I'm not going to take that BS. I'm going to start cultivating this. I'm the creator of my relationships, to self, to others, to Mother Earth, to the creator, who I am, who you are, right? Once you start doing that, you're going to accept less and less second-class treatment. It's going to become abnormal. It's not going to be your second nature. You're here to create your second nature, that you have these boundaries and these standards. That's you. And that just rolls right off. Like you express it, you don't even need to think of it someday. So one of the biggest disservices also is that people get into this relationship with someone who is possessive and jealous over someone. Maybe if it's a heterosexual relationship, it's someone of the opposite sex, because they are projecting their own issues, thinking that there cannot be a friendship that isn't sexual with a person of the opposite sex. Let me tell you, this does not fly very easily in the queer community. Because in the queer community, it's like you are friends with, if you're a lesbian, let's say you're friends with the other lesbians. And you're going to have to see your ex around town probably. You know, and that's where maybe the work is also to have those healthy friendships with women then. You know, you pick. I think it's good to have a variety of friendships in your life anyway. To not just be insular in one community either. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I feel like I maybe forgot a few things, but we'll leave it there for today. And thanks for joining me. Like this video if you liked it. If you want to stay connected, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time. Maybe not in the forest. I might be back in Florida by then. So I'm going to miss this forest so much. Oh, this is the forest where I was reborn in one of my new lives. And these are the beautiful ponderosa, which smell like pancakes. Oh, especially after it rains and you come into this forest. Sometimes when I haven't been in it for a while, I come into it, I drive in and I open the door and I'm like, did somebody make pancakes? Thank you, forest. So, yeah. All right. All right, my friend, see you next time.